out in the news tonight, largest opposition party, the MPP, holds its extraordinary congress in Sunyani tomorrow.
Car Powership begins production of initial 220 megawatts of power.
And 5,000-strong AU peacekeeping force to protect civilians in Burundi. Always a pleasure having you for company here on Newsnight on GTV and also on GBC24. My name is Abdul Haji Mumin.
I am Shelley, and Clement Sam is our signer for tonight.
And in our very first story, a congress of the country's largest opposition party is set to take off in Sunyani. One of the highlights of Saturday's events will be the outdooring of the 2016 campaign team for the party's presidential candidate, Nana Akufo-Addo.
The NPP's Extraordinary National Delegates Congress comes in the wake of a major shakeup within the party that has seen the suspension of Chairman Paul Afoku, General Secretary Kobni Japon, and Second Vice Chairman Sami Kwab.
Our colleague John Samata from the Bonahafo region is on the line to speak to us. John Samata, very good evening to you. Many thanks for joining us here. What can you tell us about tomorrow's event?
They're on now. Hello? They're on? Yeah. Hello?
Yeah, John, if you can hear me.
Yes. I can hear you.
Great. Can you tell us what you know so far about preparation towards tomorrow's event?
Can you say that again?
John, I think you need to reduce the volume on the TV set by you, then we can talk to Sam. That's John Samata on the line there from Sunyani. He's our correspondent. Right. John Samata, now, can you tell us what you know about preparations towards tomorrow's Congress by the NPP?
Currently, I'm at the Sunyani Coronation Park where there's a problem with lights, so this is a bit dark. But luckily, I've got the communications manager of the New Patriotic Party right here with me, and so he's the best person to answer our questions. Thank you, sir, for your time. You're welcome to Sunyani. Can you tell us, how are the preparations for the Congress going?
There's a lot of enthusiastic response from the people of Sunyani. Set up the stage. It's a very beautiful stage. Fortunately, all the other things, the seating, the shade, it's a beautiful stadium, the Coronation Stadium. We want to compliment it with a beautiful stage. So all is set for tomorrow. We are expecting 6,000 delegates. The stadium itself can seat about 5,500. So we have to make an arrangement for another 500. Our biggest problem now is because of the enthusiasm from the people of Sunyani. We are expecting about another 10,000 people coming to fill up the place. And we will present the security problem. And so the security are trying to see how they can expand security for all of these numbers. But there's a lot of excitement in the town, like you can see. It's going to be a big occasion tomorrow. The party has a lot of support here, and all of them are excited. People like myself, once in a while I speak on radio. They hear of my voice, they see my face once in a while. They are seeing it for the first time. There's a lot of excitement. So we're all looking forward to tomorrow.
Nana, what has been making the news around here was some tiff with the traditional council. But the traditional council were not too happy about the way the party invited them at the late hour or something like that. Can you tell us from your end, do you know anything, any friction between you, the party and the Sunyani Traditional Council?
Those local arrangements are supposed to be made by the regional party. So you have to the regional executives, because they are in charge of the local arrangements. We have come from Accra. Certainly tomorrow, when the party leadership is here, they will definitely pay a courtesy calls on the chiefs and do the customization. Those arrangements and who has to be treated yesterday or 2 days before. Arrangements left for the local team, so you have to stick to that. But definitely tomorrow, after the party leadership will go around and pay courtesy calls on those who have to be paid calls.
You also mentioned the fact that the number that you're expecting this stadium is swelling. I mean, people are showing enthusiasm will be going to be here. Earlier, the police said they were going to make about 400 policemen available. Are you aware of this? And is there need to scale this up in view of what you are saying about the expectations?
The security committee who are liaising with the police and other security agencies, the parties who internal security and so on. Like I say, we have planned for 6,000 delegates. But from the enthusiasm, I mean, you've been here this evening. We've been on. We're just getting the preparation from. But you can see the crowd. So when you go through the time, everybody is just pumped up. So we are going to, it might be difficult to turn people away. So you might have to accommodate them and see how security can be reconfigured. So really, that would be an issue.
But let's see. I want your name now, because earlier we were told that he's touring the half areas. I heard he was in Kenya, say, about an hour ago or so, and there was a plan to launch a book this evening. It's been widely circulated in Sunyani. What happened to those plans?
To launch a book. Maybe somebody has made an arrangement to launch it, but it's not part of the official program. That's why I can see. I'm the official program. I don't see anything.
Okay, John.
Somebody has spoken to Manado and it's expected that they have to launch. I don't know. I
know you're actually to be arrested. So finally, I mean, what is your word to delegates and then the sympathizers and supporters who are going to throng here in their numbers tomorrow? What is your final message to them? What should they expect?
The delegates are way coming. We expect everybody to be here. They are traveling overnight. We expect them to be here 7 o'clock later. They go to their reception centers. They freshen up. They have their breakfast. And everybody should be here by 10 so we can start. It's a beautiful section. This is the time the party members are going to meet other party members from all over the country. So it's some kind of homecoming, as it were.
All right. Now, John, we have to...
I'm sure if you pick somebody like me, many people have heard about me, they don't know me. So there's going to be a lot of excitement, meeting new people, reaffirming solidarity in the party, reinforcing unity and brotherhood, and getting all of us on the same page for 2016.
All right, thank you very much, John. That's all time will allow us, but I'm sure subsequently when we speak to you again tomorrow, Nana will be telling us exactly what is the purpose for the organization of this special congress. That was our colleague Johnson Arthur on the line speaking to Nana Komia, who is the communications director of the New Patriotic Party. And moving on to other stories now. Car Powership has begun the production of an initial 220 megawatts of power into the national grid.
GBC24 was at the shipyard in Tema to witness the production of the first supply of power to the national grid by the Turkey-built facility. The ship, which arrived in November, forms part of efforts to address the country's energy crisis. In an exclusive interview with GBC24, the West Africa coordinator of Car Powership, Robert Cramia, told GBC24 that the company would eventually produce 235 megawatts into the national grid, that is 10 more megawatts than originally planned.
When GBC24 arrived at the Tema Harbour, the power ship had started the production of power to the national grid. Car Powership, the company that has been contracted by the government of Ghana to produce 225 megawatts to the national grid, has just begun producing 220 megawatts to the national grid. The authorities here say that in the next few days they will add 15 more megawatts to the national grid, making it 235, 10 more than the contractually agreed figure of 225. Last week, officials of Gridco indicated that the transmission lines from the power ship to Gridco's Smelter 2 substation was complete and was awaiting connection to the power ship. When the news team visited the control room on the ship, it was evident that production had indeed begun.
He does all the hard work and I just sit here and look pretty.
However, instead of the contractually agreed 225 megawatts, the ship is currently producing 220 megawatts. The West Africa coordinator of Car Powership, Robert Kramer, said the extra power will soon be added onto the national grid.
We've been testing the units for the last couple of weeks, so there's been small increments going to the grid. Right now there's 220 megawatts going to the Ghanaian grid. 220 is your typical full base load. It's important to realize that our total capacity will be 235 megawatts. Currently I'm running my 12 diesel engines, and then in a few weeks I'll bring my steam turbine online. So that'll be 235 megawatts.
We asked him how the company would procure fuel to power the plant.
I've already got a contract with GNPC to supply the fuel, so the fuel is not an issue. We can run on natural gas or we can run on HFO. Currently we're running on HFO, and then when the natural gas becomes available, we'll switch to natural gas.
He said 90% of the company's staff would be made up of Ghanaians.
Typically the plant has about 100 people on a 225 megawatt station. Right now we have more than 60 Ghanaians, and over the next couple of years we'll take that up to probably 90-95%.
In May last year, Car Powership and the Electricity Company of Ghana signed a power purchase agreement for the provision of 450 megawatts of electricity through the supply of two 225 megawatts power ships. The second power ship is expected in the country by the end of the first quarter of next year. Abdulhai Mumin, GBC24, Tema.
The Ghana National Fire Service is cautioning the public to avoid burning vegetation given the extremely dry weather conditions at the launch of the National Bushfire Prevention Campaign at Aguna Nyakrum in the Central Region. The Chief Fire Officer, Dr. Albert Brown-Gazy, said a review of the Bushfire Act of 1990 is necessary to curb the rising incidence of bushfires in the country.
By the first week of December 2015, the Ghana National Fire Service had already recorded over 90 fires. This was a source of concern for the service, given the fact that it had organized a series of educational fora to ensure a reduction in fires, especially when they break out in hard-to-reach areas. Also, between 2013 and 2014, the Ghana National Fire Service recorded over 1,000 bushfires in the country. This often has devastating effects on rural livelihoods, on the ecosystem. To reverse the trend of indiscriminate bushfires, the 2015-2016 National Bushfire Campaign was launched on the theme Sustainable Environment Through Bushfire Prevention. The Chief Fire Officer, Dr. Albert Brown-Gazy, said bushfires have become an annual ritual for Ghanaians and it remains one of the most challenging environmental concerns in the country. He identified some of the major causes of uncontrolled bush burning.
Hunters, herdsmen, farmers, cigarette smokers, etc. are to blame for most uncontrolled and indiscriminate bush burning. Many bushfires are deliberately started during the dry season, as farmers and hunters usually do so to facilitate access into forests by both men and animals.
In President John Mahamed's message, the Deputy Central Regional Minister, Mrs. Quinsta Sawyer, outlined some measures that can curb bushfires. The service has trained over 12,000 volunteers nationwide to help deal with fires when they do break out.
When there's a bushfire, like for instance, you need to use fire belt to quench it down before you call the fire service to come.
So if the fire is very strong and there is a bit distance, you can take the fire to fire approach, which means you can set up a small fire in front before the one which is higher or blazing comes to meet it. When it comes like that, it will cool the temper of the fire down.
There was a demonstration on how to extinguish bushfires.
The Central Tong District of the Volta region are calling on the government to complete a water project in the area to enable them to have access to potable water. The water facility is expected to supply potable water to 5 districts. Is on hold due to inadequate funds. For this reason, the facility is underutilized.
It's still difficult to get access to potable water within the Central Town District and other nearby districts. This often compels residents to resort to unhygienic sources of water for domestic use. Government therefore secured over 34 million euros from the Austrian government to construct the 5-district water supply project at Adidome in the Central Town District of the Volta region to address the issue. These are North and Central Town District, Agotime Ziope, Whole West, Adaklu, and some part of the whole municipality. When completed, the facility, which takes its main water source from the Volta Lake, is expected to supply over 5,000 cubic meters of water per day to over 155 communities in the beneficiary districts. The project, which started in 2013, should have been completed by December 2014 but was stalled because of a delay in the release of third phase funds. The facility, which has been handed over to the Central Town District, is currently being underutilized. GBC24 gathered the facility is now producing about 15% of its production capacity of 5,000 cubic meters per day. This is because it is currently serving only a few communities within the Central Town alone. Officials of a private entity managing the facility on behalf of the assembly, who were unwilling to speak on camera, are not happy with the situation. The Central Town District Chief Executive, Mary Agbenyenu, was worried about the health implications the delay in the completion of the facility would have on the people, as they would be compelled to rely on unhygienic sources of water. She appealed to the Ministry of Finance to ensure the release of the third phase fund to enable the contractor to complete the project. GBC24 also gathered the contractor's Strap Bag Company is expected to leave later this month and may be difficult to get them back to the country to continue with the project once they leave.
Indiscriminate posting of bills is on the rise in the whole municipality. The situation is reported to be gradually affecting the aesthetic beauty of the municipality, not to mention the heaps of filth that refuse collection agencies struggle to deal with on a daily basis. With the coming Christmas holidays, organizers of events are advertising their functions at every corner and on any available wall or structure.
Ho is one of the cleanest municipalities in the Volta region, but is gradually losing that reputation. This is because buildings and walls along the streets within the municipality are being defaced by indiscriminate pasting of posters. They range from film premieres to political party posters, crusade notices by churches, and company advertisements. Job seekers and job owners also jostle for space, not to talk of the herbal healers and spiritualists and magicians and loan companies. The landscape of any surface within the municipality is best described as unsightly. This is because every available space within the municipality is now splashed with posters. Electricity poles, street light posts, telecom and electricity transformers, walls of residential properties, billboards, traffic lights, kiosks, containers, signposts, and bus stops have all not been spared from this act. Without any formula and format, anyone with a poster and glue can simply paste posters all over the municipality with impunity. Interestingly, pasting on existing posters has brought about a free-for-all process that in the end worsens the extent of defacement. But after all this, refuse collection agencies are forced to clean the torn pieces. What is more, municipal authorities go past this spectacle daily without any action. This action compromises the improving aesthetic looks of the municipality. In some jurisdictions, it is a criminal offense to post posters on buildings and walls without the consent of district, municipal, the metropolitan, or the owners concerned. The residents say perhaps it is time the whole municipal assembly toes this line and also erects approved billboards at vantage points within the municipality for this purpose. They add that the assembly can then track and arrest people who deface the municipality and punish them to serve as a deterrent to others. This might save the municipality from joining the league of dirtiest capitals in the country.
Now there's news. The Immigration Service at the moment is unable to trace and flush out undocumented immigrants who may be staying in the country illegally due to inadequate resources.
But as Ghana joins the rest of the world to mark Immigration Day, the service is urging illegal immigrants to adhere to the laws of the country, else when caught, they will face the full rigors of the law.
Or the watch list or the stop list. Anybody who is of security interest or anybody who is supposed to be a threat to global security or national security is on that list. So as soon as a person, anybody who enters this country, his details will be run through that database. If he's not a wanted person, he'll be cleared to enter. Then we'll go ahead and ask you other questions to be sure you are somebody who is not of any threat at all to this country. Then we'll admit you. Okay. But where even after we've gone through the security checks and you are still cleared, and upon interrogation we think that there's still something we should be worried about or concerned about, we have the discretion to put you back on the flight and refuse you entry. With overstays, it's difficult for everybody. Countries in the world have a challenge with that. Even the countries with loads of resources like the United States has over 11 million undocumented immigrants in their country. And we know that some of our compatriots are even there whose stays have expired. You only come by that information. You can have the system in place to know that his permit has expired, but you also don't have a police state where you follow every foreigner wherever they are going. So you may have difficulties really locating them and knowing where they are to flush them out because you don't have inexhaustible resources. But you will not elude our radar because our laws make provision for the payment of penalties. So where you have overstayed, on your departure, it will be detected, and you pay a penalty for overstaying.
This is News Hour live on GBC24 and also on GTV. We'll go for a short break, and when we come back, we'll bring you business news.
Good evening, you're most welcome to the business news. My name is Esther Edu. Ghana's external debt portfolio is set to widen with the U.S. decision to increase interest rates by 0.25%. According to a financial analyst, Mr. Godfred Alufa-Bokpin, the move by the U.S. Fed will result in a strong dollar and a depreciation of most African currencies.
After 10 years of keeping interest rates at near zero, the U.S. Federal Reserve, led by Janet Yellen, decided in a historic move to increase interest rates by 0.25%.
I think it was a strategy, call it quantitative easing or unconventional monetary policy, to adopt growth-friendly policies to come out of the crisis. And if you want to go for growth-friendly policies, then you are looking at maybe lowering interest rates by injecting more money into the U.S. economy. Once you inject more money into the U.S. economy, we expect that interest rate will virtually fall to almost zero. And that is what they have done over the years as a way of stimulating growth.
Indeed, when the U.S. sneezes, the whole world catches a cold. The effects of this decision are far-reaching and already manifesting, with most Asian countries turning their attention to the U.S. market. Given that the apron strengths of African economies are inextricably tied to the U.S. economy and, for that matter, the dollar, Africa will certainly feel the brush of this development. In an interview with the head of the finance department of the University of Ghana Business School, Alufa-Bokpin, he noted potential lenders to Africa will now shift to the U.S.
The U.S. market is an alternative market compared to the Ghanaian market. So if the U.S. interest rate goes up, for which reason investment become attractive in the U.S., then it means that certain investors who would have brought their money here will now take it to where? The U.S. What it also means is that, you see, for some time now, majority of the security issue we have done in this country were taken up by foreigners. So what it means is that if investment become lucrative in the U.S., then the existing investors in our securities will be seeking what we call an early redemption of their investment in cedis, and they would want to what? Go back. And when they are going back, you know, the cedi can only go as far as the Togo border. They will be looking at taking what? Dollars out. And as they are looking for more dollars, it means that there will be some cumulative pressure on the cedi.
He revealed Ghana's external debt will increase automatically once the US dollar firms up.
When the cedi depreciates, what it means is that the cedi value of our public debt will go up automatically. Not because government has taken additional debt, but because the currency has dipped. And for that reason, the cedi value of our external debt goes up, and our debt to GDP ratio could go way in excess of the 70%.
He is calling for urgent measures to strengthen the cedi before the dollar begins its upward trend.
The solution lies with us. Let's get the fundamentals working very well. Let's as a country, let's take a decision. How do we want to spend the oil money? Maybe we may have to take a second look. For me personally, we should take a second look and allocate more of that money to actually critical sectors of this economy, like agriculture, like industries, rather than maybe building capacity and the rest of them. Let's decide as a people.
Prior to the U.S. Federal Reserve's decision, there were many African governments who had planned to go to the capital market next year, wishing that the Federal Reserve would not hike its interest rate because it will make cost of credit on the capital market very expensive.
Some banking news. First Allied Bank has opened its 25th branch in the Upper East regional capital, Bolgatanga. This is to bring its services closer to its customers. The Chief Operating Officer of the bank, Mr. Edward Lamte, gave an assurance to customers of a friendly environment with convenient access and responsive financial services to micro and small-scale entrepreneurs.
At the formal opening, the Chief Operating Officer of the bank, Mr. Edward Lamte, said the First Allied Savings and Loans Limited provides excellent services in the small and micro enterprises sector and called on businesses to patronize its services. Mr. Lamte said the bank was licensed by the Bank of Ghana under the PNDC Law 328/1993, which mandated it to operate as a business company. He called on all to partner with the bank to help it to achieve its purpose.
Our officers will be contacting you to partner with us in using your shops and business premises as agents post to replicate the services we provide in banking halls. It is our hope that many of you will partner with us in GTV financial inclusion and benefit from the attractive commission that goes with this.
The board chairman of the bank, Nana Yawodro, said in spite of the large number of banks in the municipality, credit facilities to customers remain a challenge. He said the bank is ready to solve those problems, adding that it has demonstrated its commitment to the small and micro enterprises sector. Some of the bank's products include Golden Susu, group loans, Susu overdraft, SMS alert and non-commission on current accounts.
We create an environment for businesses to grow. Once businesses grow, the economy will also grow.
The Upper East Regional Minister James Zuga Tiga appealed to management of the bank in the region to build a stronger relationship with their customers and treat them as partners.
The cedi gained 5 pesos against the pound sterling to close trading at 5 cedis 67 pesos. It also appreciated by 3 pesos against the euro. It firmed against the dollar to close trading at 3 cedis 80 pesos. Up next is the currency board. And on the international commodity market today, prices of light crude, cocoa and gold surged. And that was business. Have a good evening.
Welcome to the health segment. The Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection says the government is highly committed to the reformation of prisoners as well as improvement in their living conditions so they can make meaningful contributions to national development after serving their sentences. Nana Oyelitha was speaking at a ceremony at the Secondary Central Prisons to mark the beginning of the free registration of all prisoners in the Western region onto the National Health Insurance Scheme.
More than 6,000 prison inmates across the country have been registered onto the National Health Insurance Scheme. The initiative by the government started a few months ago. It is a joint effort between the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection, the Ghana Prisons Service and the National Health Insurance Authority. This is to help reduce the expenditure of the Ghana Prison Service on the health care of prisoners. The inmates were happy to be finally registered on the scheme. The Director of Finance and Administration of the Ghana Prison Service, Mr. Emmanuel Yao Ajato, said the prison administration is on course to make living conditions better. The Director in charge of Membership and Regional Operations at the National Health Insurance Authority, Mr. Ben Kusi, said the authority would complete the registration of inmates in the region before Christmas. The Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection, Nana Oyelitha, said they can use the health insurance cards when they are out of prison, and inmates of the Secondary Central Prisons, Mr. Julius Kumbali, presented some grievances to government.
I want to seize the opportunity to appeal to the President of the Republic and the government to increase the current daily feeding rate of our Ghana cedis and 80 Ghana pesos to 6 Ghana cedis to enable the prison administration to provide us with a more and realistic balanced diet.
Some of the inmates were presented with footwears.
A board member of the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation and founder of Healing Hands Foundation, Dr. Grace Ayensu Dankwa, has presented some items to the children's ward at the Achimota Hospital. The cost of the assistance runs into $10,000.
Healing Hands Foundation cut its umbilical cord last year, and the Achimota Hospital is the first to be touched by Healing Hands with a donation. The items donated include infant diapers, syringes, infant drips, lubricants, and infant warmie socks. The founder of Healing Hands, Dr. Grace Ayensu Dankwa, says the gesture forms part of a move to reach out to the people who can hardly afford health care.
We're bringing health care to the pole of inaccessibility, the place where they don't have access. And even if they have the access, they can't afford it. So that's where we come in to try to bridge this gap, because according to around the world, there's like 1 billion people who don't have access to health care.
The head of nursing at Achimota Hospital, Mrs. Agnes Kuju, thanked Dr. Grace Ayensu Dankwa for supporting the hospital.
On behalf of the hospital management, the entire staff, and clients and patients who will be somehow the recipient of these items, we say we thank you so much.
Come next year, Healing Hands Foundation will extend its hands to the poor in the Western region.
In health.
Time now to tell you what's happening in other parts of the world, and the number of forcibly displaced people worldwide will far surpass a record 60 million this year, the UN says. The report by the United Nations Refugee Agency said 1 in every 122 humans is today someone who has been forced to flee their homes. The figure includes 20.2 million refugees, the highest total since 1992. The UNHCR added the numbers were mainly driven by the Syrian war, conflict in Ukraine, and other protected conflicts, it said. The report is based on figures from the first half of 2015. Violence in Afghanistan, Somalia, and South Sudan also sparked large refugee movements, as well as fighting in Burundi, the Central African Republic, the Democratic Republic of Congo, and Iraq. Asylum application had risen 78% over the same period in 2014, while the numbers of internally displaced people reached an estimated 34 million. The African Union has announced a plan to send 5,000 peacekeepers to protect civilians in Burundi, even without the government's consent. The proposal was approved by the AU's Peace and Security Council, but will need to be approved by the UN. On Thursday, the AU said it would not allow genocide to take place in Burundi. Unrest began in April when President Pierre Nkurunziza announced he would seek a third term in office. He survived a coup attempt in May and secured a third term in disputed elections in July. It is the first time the AU is invoking a rule allowing it to deploy a force without a country's consent. There's more ahead. We'll be telling you about what's happening in sports and in the world of entertainment. Don't go away. Starts from a rather bad note because a state burial has been held for Ghana's legendary footballer, coach and sports administrator Nana C.K. Gyamfi, the Jantuahene of Benkum division of the Kwapim traditional area. His remains will be interred at the Okrasi Methodist School Park at Okrasi near Kofodia tomorrow.
The late C.K. Gyamfi was an icon, a legend, and a pace-setter in Ghana sports, particularly football. He played his part as a coach to better the lives of several young footballers. He impacted the lives of Mystical Roses, Noble Iris, Ken Harrison Babies, the All Accra School Representatives 11, the Accra Great Argonauts, as well as Cape Coast Ebusian Dwarfs, Kumasi Asante Kotoko, Accra Stand Fast, and Accra Hearts of Oak. They all have fond memories of the time spent with him. Nana C.K. Gyamfi, as he was popularly known, became the first Ghanaian and black player to play the German League with Fortuna Düsseldorf in 1960 and was also in the Gold Coast 11 team, which toured England and Ireland in 1951 and in the Europe Tour in 1961. He was the first captain of the senior national football team, the Black Stars, from 1957 to 1960 and was capped 67 times. During his tenure as coach, he led the Black Stars to the African Nations Cup titles in 1963, 1965 and 1982. In 1990, Nana C.K. Gyamfi became the first technical director of the Ghana Football Association GFA and later on the technical director of Ashanti Gold Sporting Club in 1993. During his tenure, Ashanti Gold Sporting Club became Ghana League champions on 3 consecutive occasions and were finalists of the CAF Champions League in 1997. All tributes read eulogized him. President John Mahama's tribute was read on his behalf by the Minister for Youth and Sports, Dr. Mustafa Ahmed. He described him as a great man. Nana C.K. Gyamfi worked with the Confederation of African Football CAF as a match commissioner from 1972, a coach instructor from 1983, and a technical development committee member from 1992 until 2004. He represented Africa at FIFA, was present at various world football competitions, and was a FIFA coaching instructor from 1995. With his passing, Ghana has lost a great sportsman and a traditional leader who has paid his due to God and country. A memorial and burial will be held on Saturday.
There were those who were at the forecourt of the State House to bid him farewell.
Yeah, very outstanding captain, very outstanding coach, and his achievements. Now, such a person, even when he was living, should be, in fact, always should be remembered by the nation before even God will come and pick him. In fact, I remember he was very close to us. He was our top man. Even when he became the president of Coaches Association, we were using his residence for meetings. What a man, you see.
We have lost a great man, a very great man, Africa, and the world at large, because FIFA recognized him, CAF recognized him, Ghana recognized, the whole of Africa recognized this man. I don't think we can have such a great person like this man.
Nana GTV was somebody, we cannot describe him to so many people. He's one of the people who do the things people want them to do. He was very good. He advises us, as the minister was saying, and he tells us what we should do before we can be good stars. He always advises us in everything, in our private life and even in football. So he was somebody we can depend on, and it was him, because of him we grew to be good players. Yeah.
For me, Nana, I don't even know how to describe him. I like to say legend, or in the UK they will say sir, because in terms of football, I think he's done a lot for Ghana, you know, as a player and then as a coach as well. And me personally, he's the one who invited me to the national team for the first time. And even apart from that, when I took the coaching job, most of the time I used to visit him, you know, to get advice, and he always encouraged me. And for me, Ghana has lost a great, great man.
In 1982, he was the technical director and also won the Africa Cup game for Ghana, making the first Ghanaian and African coach who had won the Africa Cup for his country 3 times.
With his name, Nana GTV the first, people don't really associate with that name as far as he is concerned. We rather know him as CK GTV, and a lot of players I know who are within my age group and who call themselves the retired players now emulated Nana a lot. They picked a lot from Nana. He was an example for a lot of them. And I'm happy to see most of them here today. A lot of people who thronged this place to see Nana's last lifeless body are people who have known him, of which I am one of them. We pray that the good Lord continue to bless the family so that this name is left with us will ever be remembered.
GTV was somebody that, as we were growing up in North Carolina, he took care of everybody. He made everybody happy. If you want a jersey, he'll give you a jersey. If you want a football, he'll give you a football. Even those days when we're doing boyfriend, girlfriend, if you have a problem with boyfriend and girlfriend, all you need to do is to go to GTV. He understood everybody. And as I said, he was a man who was fit in every pair of shoes that was given to him. You know, in every community, people are assigned many responsibilities and many challenges. But this man was somebody who was fit in all the pair of shoes that he was given to. And he worked seriously. Besides that, he loved God.
One of the greatest sports personalities who ever lived. I mean, words can actually not describe Nana GTV. I mean, he's an all-rounder, a player, administrator, a coach. I mean, he's paid his dues, and he has served Ghana so well. And I think that he deserves the state barrier, and he deserves all the accolades and all the
Another pace-setter of Ghanaian football gone. Still ahead, we have the entertaining entertainer to give us some entertainment news.
In our segment of the news, my name is Micheline Taka. The Glorious Philharmonic Choir has organized a pre-Christmas concert in Accra. The 60-member group treated guests to spectacular performances. Just take a look.
The Glorious Philharmonic Choir is an interdenominational choir which derives its name from the sound that comes from the voice of singers. Put differently, glorious sound. The vision of the group is to be the leader in all facets of Ghanaian choral music, as well as bring encouragement and inspiration to its fans. This year's pre-Christmas concert was an exception due to the thrilling performances put up by the choir. Lovers of hymns and Western classical music stood on their feet throughout the performances. The leader of the group, Mr. Michael Mbia, says Ghana abounds with talents in choral music and it will work hard to unearth them and give them the exposure they need.
Gospel star Sisi Chum has advised the youth who aspire to join the music industry not to rush, but rather pray hard and devote time to their work. She made a statement during an interview with her on GBC24.
I've been a musician through my life. When I was 11, I was in a Catholic choir. That is where I've been. And then also when when I was in school in Winneba. But when I came to Accra, the church in which I was a chorister. So I've been singing through my life, yeah. I always do inspirational songs. And you know, those songs goes for everyone. I have 4 albums to my credit now.
I would ask you to give me us an a cappella.
On the choir for J, Meji wasem dio, we free you my passe.
With technical support from the Ghana Meteorological Agency.
Good evening, and it's a pleasure to have you on the weather report segment of the evening news. It's been dry and hazy over the past 24 hours, and over the next 24 hours, we expect no significant cloud formation, and with this dryness and haziness persisting over all areas. But the changes that are likely to affect us with regards to temperature would be as follows. For tomorrow morning, a minimum of 19 degrees Celsius over the north, a range of between 18 and 21 degrees over the middle, and 25 degrees Celsius over the coastal areas. For tomorrow afternoon, a maximum temperature of 36 degrees Celsius would affect the north, 32 and 33 over the middle and the coastal belt respectively. And finally, for humidity, it's likely to be low over northern Ghana and the middle belt and normal across the rest of the country over the next 24 hours. Showing briefly as the forecast for the next 48 hours. Do stay tuned. Keep watching the Wingo Weather Report.
And that's how we wrap up the news. We'll be here again at 10:30 when we'll bring you News Tonight. You enjoy the rest of our programs.